Welcome everyone to our weekly series with Eric Arnum. Thank you again for joining. Today we're going to focus on an industry that has enabled all of us in one form or the other during these very uncertain times. We're going to be talking about the computer industry, the trends as far as warranty goes, and Eric is going to walk us through that. This will be our last series in April, and in May we're going to be starting a new set of series with Eric's focused on analytics and what that means to the industry and how it's changing the way we look at things in today's environment and how it's going to change getting into the future. Please, as always, ask your questions. You have the option to do that with the chat window on your meeting, right? So we will address those questions either during the course of the webinar or as we get to the end of it. So with that, hand it over to Eric. Happy listening.
Thank you, Roshan. Thank you very much, and thanks all of you for attending. This is our fifth in a series of webinars on different aspects of the product warranty industry. Today I had to really dig to find another blue shirt. I've been wearing blue shirts for each of the five. This is my fifth edition, so I really had to search for another blue shirt. I guess I'll have to do some laundry for the May series that we're doing starting May 1st, next Friday. Roshan, you're absolutely right. What would we do without computers? What would we do without the internet, without smartphones and data communications? It would be nearly impossible for us to work at home. It'd be absolutely impossible for us to do a webinar series like this. What we're going to look at today is basically the industry, the US-based industry, the US-based computer industry. But there's also a bit of smartphones in there because you have Apple Computer. Apple is making Macintoshes and iPads, but they're also making iPhones. So wherever we include them, they're going to be a major player. So they're in the data this week, along with companies such as Hewlett-Packard and years ago Dell, all the disk drive manufacturers, all the peripheral makers, Microsoft, and many other names that you'll recognize as we go through this. Let's look at the first slide. We're looking at the amount of money that the computer manufacturers have paid in claims. Well, it's more than just the computers. In red, you see the computer manufacturers. In pink, you see the data storage, the disk drive manufacturers. And in brown, you see the peripheral manufacturers. You see that the red portion, the computer portion, is labeled. That's the amount of US dollars being spent on claims. So in 2019, you see the label is 5275. That represents $5.275 billion. That was down around $289 million, or just over 5% decline from 2018. 5564 is the number in 2018. There's not enough room to label the other fields, so I'll just read them out to you. In 2019, data storage was 293 million. That was up 38 million. Peripherals was 228 million, and that was down around 38 million as well. And as you can see, clearly the peak was in 2013 at just under $8.5 billion. Now the total for the three groups that I'm showing you today is just over $5.8 billion. Figure 2, we're looking at a different metric. This is the amount of warranty accruals being set aside by the manufacturers. Once again, you see 2013 was the peak. It was even bigger than with claims, that was $9.85 billion being set aside in 2013 for product warranty expenses. In 2019, the computers was $5.3 billion. That was up $250 million from 2018. The disk drive in 2019 was $318 million. That was up just a little bit, just about $3 million, almost no change. And peripherals, computer peripherals was $217 million. It was up just $1 million. So somewhat strong increase in computer accruals, very small increases in disk drive and peripheral accruals. In 2019, the total for all three was $5.84 billion. That was up $257 million, or 4.6%. Now, what I've done here is I've taken the claims data and the accrual data that I just showed you, and I'm dividing it by sales. Sales of products, not service, just products. So this is all of the claims divided by all the product sales, all of the accruals divided by all the product sales. You get a pair of percentage rates, which represent the percentage of sales that are being spent on computer, peripheral, and disk drive warranty expenses. The claims rate is in red. The accruals rate is in green. Now, normally they should roughly parallel each other. Sometimes one gets a little bit ahead of the other. But in general, you see that over the past 17 years, they have more or less kept in step with each other. Starting out back in 2003, up around 4%, which means that 4% of these companies' revenue, back then it was IBM and Dell and Gateway and Apple, were spending an average of around almost 4% on warranty expenses. And then in 2007 or so, we crossed the 3% line. In 2012, we dipped below 2%, and then it started going back up, unfortunately. By the end of 2019, the average was 1.6% for the claims rate and 1.8% for the accrual rate. Now, being as I just showed you, the billions of dollars that are, sloshing around in this industry, it's important to note that when you go from 4% down to under 2%, you're talking about literally billions of dollars in savings per year. So these companies have been doing a pretty good job of cutting their warranty expenses, getting more efficiency out of their warranty processes, using warranty data to analyze why are products failing, how can we redesign them to fail less often, how can we redesign them to make them less expensive to repair. You see in this time scale, you see things like Dell, for instance, has pioneered the idea of making disk drives. You can just snap in, snap out. I mean, what they do now is they will actually mail you a new disk drive, tell you to open your computer and take out the old disk drive, put in the new disk drive, and send the old one back to them. That doesn't sound like a great innovation, but in terms of cost, in terms of the cost of that warranty claim, it's plummeted because of customer self-repair. And then, of course, trying to redesign laptops and smartphones and desktops so that not only they fail less often, but they take less time and cost less money to fix if that ever should be required. Let's go on to data storage. We're looking now at data storage systems, disk drives, the big data arrays, the big RAID storage systems, but also, small portables and even these things, the what do you call it? The thumb drives, the memory sticks. It's all data storage. All the companies are in there. And what you see here is that back in 2003, they were spending roughly 2%, 2.5% of their revenue on warranty claims. And since then, there has been a steady decline. You know, no detours like you see in the, well, wait a minute, I hope I don't break this. Yep. You see some detours, you know, some ups and some downs with the computers. But with the data storage, it's almost straight down. Well, actually, you do see, and it is strange to see this. You'll see it in the next slide as well. You do see a sort of seasonal oscillation. It goes up, then it goes down, then it goes up, then it goes down. Every year, every season. I don't know why data storage would be seasonal. Last week I showed you farm equipment, and it's pretty clear why farm equipment would be seasonal. I don't know why data storage would be seasonal, but it clearly is. Somebody once told me maybe it has something to do with the school, the universities, public schools, private schools, and the cycle of purchases that they make, you know, gearing up for August and September openings, and then May and June shutdowns. Of course, that won't be happening this year. They're already shut down. But it should be interesting to see what these lockdowns do to these seasonal rates and what they do to the numbers. But anyway, one more thing I should tell you. At the end of 2019, actually the data storage industry started seeing their rates go back up. Sad to see that happen, but it does happen. It rose to 1.1% for the claims rate and 1.3% for the accrual rate. Now we're looking, figure 5 is the peripheral manufacturers. And you look at this chart and you say, what's going on in 2007? Something went wrong. So I'll tell you that spike is Microsoft. That spike is the Xbox 360. Any of you who've been around the industry a long time, or any gamers in the audience, any people that are familiar with the game console industry, remember back in 2007, I think it was in July, or no, I think it was in June actually, where Microsoft announced that they were setting aside $1 billion in warranty accruals to pay for the failure of Xbox 360 consoles. And this is an excellent slide to tell you something that, you know, maybe I've mentioned in weeks past, but let me make it plain here. First, you make the accruals. First, you set the money aside. You set that money aside when you know that there's a problem, and then you pay for the problem. And there's always a lag time between when you set the money aside and when you actually pay the bills. So what you see here is Microsoft setting aside the money in 2007, and then in 2008, and then again in 2009, actually paying the bills. So there's always a lag time between accruals and claims, and you can see it so clearly here. Microsoft worked through that problem, and they found a solution in their manufacturing to the problem of all the money, and even better than that, they found a solution to nosy people like me looking into their problems. They stopped reporting their warranty expenses. They just said, you know, we don't feel like it anymore. So they've dropped off the chart, and we'll never again know how expensive warranty has been for Microsoft. It's a perfect solution to just stop reporting. Cost them well over $1 billion. It's one of the legendary warranty failures, and at least we saw it happen. From here on out, we'll never see it happen again from them. Otherwise, this chart has been incredibly steady, around 1%. At the end of 2019, both the claims rate and the accrual rate were around 1.1%. Here we're looking at, so what I did was I took the top 10 companies in this industry, whether they're in data or peripherals or computers. So the top 10, the 10 biggest warranty providers in the industry, and I just ranked them from top to bottom based on their change in claims rates. So what you see here at the top is NCR, which is making peripherals for business to business, banking and other industries that need things like, ATM terminals and other point of sale equipment, cash registers, what have you. NCR did a great job. They cut their claims rate by about a quarter, from 2.1% at the end of 2018 to 1.6% at the end of 2019. And then at the bottom, unfortunately, are the biggest cost increases. Seagate gets that prize this time. Seagate Technology, their claims rate rose by almost 2/3 from the end of 2018. It went from 1.0% to 1.6%. So that's a big jump for them. All the others you see, Apple and HP are in the middle there. Dover, Zebra Technologies, or for my British friends, Zebra. Diebold Nixdorf, a German-American company, and of course IBM is there. Western Digital and Seagate are leading the data storage companies. Now we're looking at warranty accruals. This is the amount set aside. So yes, that is accurate. I should have pointed that out on the last slide. You say, what? Apple is at 3,776. That's 3.7 billion, almost 3.8 billion dollars. Hewlett-Packard is just over $1 billion. Yep, that's real money. I mean, you're really talking about huge amounts of money being spent on warranty by some of these top players. Here again, Apple at $3.8 billion, HP at $1.0 billion. But again, NCR is at the top of the chart. This time, NCR cut their accrual rate by about 1/3, from 2.1% down to 1.4%. Diebold Nixdorf is at the bottom this time. Their accrual rate more than doubled. Wow. 1.3%, and it jumped up to 2.9%. That's painful. That's really painful when that happens, because what essentially that means that 1.5% of your revenue is going towards expenses, and it hurts. It hurts net income. It hurts profitability. And when an expense like that more than doubles, you hear about it. Believe me, you hear about it. The last metric I wanted to show to you this afternoon is the year-ending balance in the warranty reserve funds of all of these companies. At the end of 2019, that balance was just over $6 billion. And although it looks like it didn't change from 2018, if you really blow it up to, like 400% or something like that, you'll see that it went up that much. $482,000 increase from the end of 2018. Usually that doesn't happen, but then again, you look back at 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, it looks like there's almost no change in the industry totals, but there always is. There's always a few dollars of change. The balance for the computer industry was up by $25 million. Disk drives was up by 4.7 million, and then peripherals took a big drop of 29.7, almost $30 million, and on balance, that comes out to a gain of less than $500,000, which when you're talking about $8 billion is not a whole lot of change. Once again, you look at the peak for this metric came in 2014. I don't know why. I know that, even Apple is challenged now to see growth because, frankly, everybody who wants a smartphone has one. Computers, desktop computers is down. Laptop computers holding its own, but there's it's hard to see growth. So that's what you're seeing here is, the warranty metrics are declining in absolute dollar terms, but holding their own in terms of percentage of revenue. I think we have some time for questions. Let me give it back to you, Roshan.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So we have one question and another comment, I think both connected. First question is with the concept of self-repair, do you see the warranty trend changing? How does it impact how warranties are thought through and accrued for?
It's I've seen it come about as a creature of the desktop computer industry specifically, where you remember how hard it used to be. You had brackets with multiple screws to take out something like a disk drive. Now it's just snap out, snap back in. Even the side of the unit you're able to open now without taking out screws. Smartphones is a different story. Even things like battery replacement has been, a challenging effort for some users, and for Apple customers is actually against the warranty policy. Well, the warranty policy is changing. So on the one hand, you see companies like Dell absolutely pushing customer self-repair as a concept. And on the other hand, you see companies like Microsoft with its Xbox and Apple with its iPhone saying, don't you dare try to open that unit. If you even take the screws out, your warranty is void. So it's a mixed story. Frankly, parts of the industry are embracing it and parts of the industry are opposing it.
Yeah, and while not completely connected, but you sometimes see news from even companies like Tesla, not so much talking about self-repair, but about service as a service where you have someone come to your home, and it could be a technician that is certified and not a part of a dealership that comes and does it. So the whole world of service, I think, is taking a whole new turn. And the way warranties are recognized in and around service, I think, is going to be very different over the next year or two.
Oh yeah, and of course, I mean, we're speaking in the middle of a pandemic, and that virus is really going to change the way that repair services are delivered to both consumers and to businesses. The idea of bringing your car in for service, bringing your laptop in for service, things are going to change. I think, home visits will become more common. You have people, frankly, you have a whole bunch of the, a whole segment of consumers who cannot safely leave their home to go shopping. I don't see that changing for a long time. They just can't go out in public. They're too old. They have pre-existing conditions. The warranty industry, the repair industry, the sales industry will have to adapt to them. And that goes for cars as well as laptops, and as well as, of course, major appliances, but also televisions, even, what have you. Just right outside here in the hallway, you should see how many cardboard boxes we have from all of the neighbors who are, keeping Amazon in business. Nobody's going shopping in person, but they're all every day. FedEx and UPS are coming here with boxes and boxes delivered to people. So things are changing because of the virus.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. In fact, the other comment made was to maybe do a benchmark of where things are and to look at warranty trends and accruals getting into, say, beginning of next year, and how all of this looks very different, and do a comparison.
It is kind of sad that, I'm showing you data from 2019. This is from the annual reports that companies filed in February, March, and some companies just filed them in April. And we're always, of course, looking back. This is a lagging indicator, if you will. We're looking back, now 3.5 months to the end of 2019, which I think, from here on forward will be known as the end of the good old days, because everything has changed now in 2020. And it will be absolutely illuminating to see in late May, when these companies put out their first quarter statistics, and then in August when they release their second quarter data, and then in November when they release their third quarter data, and then next year, 2021, we'll be looking at annual reports, and we'll see exactly how did we get out of this? How did we get out of the crisis that we're in now? And how did that affect not only sales, but warranty expenses?
Absolutely. And Eric, once again, thank you for your time. And I know you're doing a lot in and around where you are, from volunteering at the hospital down to the latest we've heard, delivering pizza. So, a lot of us think about it, want to do it. So thank you for, doing everything you're doing and spending time here with us. And for everyone on the call, thank you as always for joining. We start next week with a new flavor to the conversation and focus on analytics that is driving a lot of decision making in and around service and warranty. I think it's becoming, it's moving away from being just data and information that's used for reporting to true decision making. And so please feel free to send us ideas, a wish list of conversations you would like to have, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Have a good week.